ESPN published a survey this week that polled 10 anonymous executives and scouts. The best player in the NBA was among those topics, and the poll was split between Giannis Antetokounmpo and Kevin Durant. King James received 0 votes. He certainly took notice, not feeling the honorable mention. He took to Twitter on Thursday to say thanks for giving him some added motivation, tweeting this: "Thank you, as if I needed more gas. Hashtag washed. Hashtag crown emoji." Max, tell me this. What does LeBron have to do to silence the haters?
Beat the Nets. How's that? Try that. Beat the Nets. Beat KD and the Nets. That'll silence the haters. By the way, he'll be the underdog to do it, no doubt. Think about if you switch teams, though. Let's say LeBron's teammates were Harden and Kyrie, and KD's were Westbrook, or reuniting, let's just say, with Westbrook and AD. Imagine if you would have given Westbrook and KD, once they reached their peaks, AD on that team. Ooh. You think about it a little differently. You think the Lakers' chances, at least I do, got a little better because of the way KD shoots the ball. Now the shooting problem goes away a little bit. Yeah, LeBron would be the underdog against the Nets. I expect the Nets at full strength to be unmatched. But he's not without chances, LeBron. Westbrook is a great player. With warts and all, he's a great player. AD is a great player. And LeBron, last I recall, was considered by many the MVP last year until he started slowing down due to injury. By many, the MVP last year. This would not be the first time, Stephen A., LeBron James has done something like this. In 16, he beat the 73-win Warriors team, a team in Game 7 where LeBron James won Finals MVP, a team that Kevin Durant's OKC Thunder took to a Game 7 at Oracle and failed to beat. He beat the 73-win team on the road that KD couldn't beat. And he beat Steph Curry and everyone, and he was the undisputed king of basketball. You want to be that again? Because I get where LeBron's coming from. It's one thing if there's a unanimous selection of someone else. Then LeBron has a little less to complain about. But if votes are going to 2 different guys and he gets none, I see why he's upset, because he's certainly in the mix with KD and Giannis. Certainly in the mix. In fact, when I brought that up, I remember you and I think it was Perk getting on me for including Giannis in that mix. But I felt after that finals performance, Giannis has to be in the mix with KD and LeBron. So I get where LeBron is coming from. You want to silence the haters? Beat Brooklyn. That'll silence the haters.
Let me say this to you, Max Kellerman. First of all, I can respect the fact that LeBron James is insulted. He's on the Mount Rushmore of basketball, make no mistake about it. One of the top two or three greatest players of all time, him, MJ, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I don't think anybody will question that at this point in his career. It's plain and simple. He's on the Mount Rushmore. Having said all of that, I can understand LeBron James being insulted about the Greek Freak. Comparisons to the Greek Freak. He has no business being insulted about Kevin Durant. Could y'all, let me be very, very clear. Let me look into the camera and say this stuff. Kevin Durant is the best player in the world. Period. There is no NBA player, including LeBron James, at this point in time, that is a better player than Kevin Durant in the world. Nobody. Now let me say this. If you're LeBron, I can understand why you're going to be upset about the Greek Freak. Because, see, I'm looking at LeBron James' numbers here. 26, 27, 27, 25, 25 over the last 4 or 5 years, okay? And we see what he shoots from the field. And even though he's a different player than the Greek Freak, he's a creator. Even though we saw Greek Freak passing the ball exceptionally well in the finals against Phoenix, he deserves a lot of credit for that. And we saw the monster game he had in the closeout game, particularly hitting 17 to 19 free throws, which we never thought we'd see from him in our lifetime. Okay? We get all of that. But in the end, when you look at LeBron James the playmaker, LeBron James the facilitator, LeBron James the basketball savant that exploits mismatches like it's going out of style, LeBron James the greatest passer in the game as far as I'm concerned. When you look at all the elements of his game and what he brings to the table, there is simply no denying how special LeBron James is, the kind of effect and impact he has on the game of basketball. And there's no way on earth that 2 players should definitively be rated ahead of him to the point where he receives no votes from the executives and scouts. No votes. There's no excuse for that, okay?
Stephen
None.
A., this is where I'm confused, though. LeBron has the same numbers, if not better, than Kevin Durant last season. I'm looking at him right now.
Well, I'm not looking at just numbers.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at just numbers because you see, if I was looking at just numbers, Molly, I could sit up there and go to the free throw line as well because I keep bringing that up because that matters and people ignore the fact. See, when you can't hit free throws, Molly, and LeBron James over the last 3 years, let me make sure I have this right on point here. LeBron James over the last 3 seasons, 66.5%, 69.3%, 69.8%. He hasn't hit 70% of his free throws the last 3 years and 4 of the last 5 years. Why does that matter? Because what happens is if I have questions about you from the free throw line, number one, I can lay off you and dare you to hit perimeter shots. Number two, when you get to the basket, I can simply foul you and send you to the free throw line as opposed to letting you convert shots at the basket. Number three, and more importantly, because of that, as the game wanes and crunch times arrive, you are an impediment to the team's success in a lot of situations when going up against elite competition if they're shot makers. That's why Max Kellerman and myself have the Brooklyn Nets as favorites. Why do we have them as favorites, Molly? Why do we have them as favorites, Max? We know they ain't elite defensively. We know that they are below average at best. We were making news about the Nets being ranked 25th as a defensive team and saying that's good enough because they are unstoppable.
Yeah, they score
offensively. Unstoppable. They're shot makers. And so when you compare LeBron and some of his recent struggles, particularly from the free throw line, in that regard, and obviously as a perimeter shooter overall, and you compare that to the marksmanship and the sniper-like capability of Kevin Durant, what would you rather have? I'd rather have Kevin Durant.
I would say it's very close. I'd say it's undetermined right now, but you're entitled to your opinion, as everyone is. I think LeBron is surprised that no one's opinion is that it's him, because Molly's right about the numbers. And in terms of the free throws, LeBron's not a bit like if he hits about 70% of his free throws. It should be higher. It should be better. That's not a disaster. Out of every 10 trips to the line, or every 5 trips to the line, if it's not an and one, right? You're shooting 2 free throws, so you have 10 free throw shots, right? Out of every 10, KD will hit 2 more than LeBron. That means every 10 trips to the line, KD is worth 2 points more than LeBron. But LeBron more than makes up for that in other ways. Kevin Durant's turned into an excellent passer. LeBron James is among the very greatest passers who ever lived. He elevates the play of those around him, unlike anybody else. And so I think those 2 points at the free throw line, even in high leverage situations, LeBron has shown winning multiple championships, he can get over that. But this is my point, Stephen A. Let's say I don't expect the Lakers to win. And I'm not sure LeBron is still the best player in the world. I agree. It's an open debate. But let's say they do beat the Nets. Everyone's healthy, and they do beat the Nets. And LeBron is great, and so is KD. We will come on the air. Everyone will come on the air the next day and say, the king still has his throne. LeBron James is still the best player in the world. Sure. That's why I silence the critics. Then, as you would say, no excuses. The Nets are a little better. Go beat them just like you beat the Warriors.
In fairness to you, credit where credit is due. You answered the question up front and directly. I didn't do that. So let me do that now. I don't believe that LeBron has to beat the Nets in order to silence the critics and validate his stature. I think that he has to make sure they win the West, and he has to make sure that when you look at a confrontation, an epic confrontation, and let's face reality. I mean, Max, we looking so forward to Brooklyn versus LA in the NBA Finals. I mean, kids that don't watch basketball looking forward to this. I mean, this is what it's all about.
Looking forward to Christmas.
Listen, everybody and their grandmother we are praying. No disrespect to Milwaukee, no disrespect to the Clippers, Denver, anybody else.
Right.
There is no one who loves the game of basketball outside of fan bases in respective cities that is rooting for a matchup other than the Brooklyn Nets versus the Los Angeles Lakers. Everybody's rooting for it, okay? What I'm saying is, if you're LeBron, what you got to do is you ball out, and we got to make sure we got another finger to point in a different direction. It can't be you.
No, it won't work, Stephen A.
Wait a minute. You remember when he lost to Golden State? But you said he should have been the MVP?
Yes.
Remember another time in the first year? That was a different year. Remember when he went against KD for the first time when KD had his first year at Golden State? Yep. And he damn near averaged, I think he averaged a triple-double, 32 plus or whatever. We knew it wasn't him.
But Stephen A., think about it. Wait a minute. Think about that.
The Nets.
That's part of the puzzle piece. Those are puzzle pieces why KD is now considered the best. if he never won those championships, if he never won those finals MVPs, no matter how he's playing now, I don't think people would be so quick to just dismiss LeBron. But the fact is, as great as LeBron played, and I thought LeBron outplayed KD in both finals. Second one was close. Second one was a virtual tie. First one, clearly to me, LeBron was the best player. Can't look at it that way,
Max.
But they gave it to KD. They gave the MVP to KD, and that's really what started the ball rolling with maybe KD. That was the beginning of it. LeBron's got to win.
Hold on. This scene, I see, maybe unintentionally, to your credit, maybe you're not intentionally doing this, but this is where you disrespectful to KD, okay? This is where you disrespectful to KD. KD was playing with the greatest shooting backcourt in the history of basketball. The greatest shooter in Steph Curry ever alive, God ever created, and a top five shooter of all time in Klay Thompson, okay? So, and he was still the best player on his team. Still averaging over 30 in the finals, okay, on better than 52% shooting from the field. Let's remember that. So what I'm saying to you is this. When you look at KD and his elite performance, you can sit up there and point to LeBron, but LeBron had to carry the load.
Yes!
Hold on. KD didn't have to do that. So in other words, when you're talking about how KD may not have looked as good as LeBron, it's because he wasn't required to.
No, wait a minute. It's much easier to play offense, as you know,